Oh, greetings and welcome. Welcome aboard my flagship, the Shadowstar, and to Deep Space Nine for this legendary Starship Stats Review, where today we'll be taking a look at one of the most beautiful ships STO has brought to us. And they're quite good at doing this kind of visual update to the ship, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward for this review. And it's a visual variant. But before we get into that, I just want to give a huge thank you to the people that have helped to make this legendary Starship review a possibility. These people being our donators, Negus, Dante Demonic, and Skyhawkings. Our Patreons, and possibly future YouTube members, Tribal Typhoon, TravisGames, Garakstails Order, and Cross-Eyed Deplorable, along with, again, Skyhawkings, in 2 places. Speaking of 2 places, with our Twitch subscribers, we have Miss Future Teach, Fox Plays Games, and, again, we have Tribal Typhoon. And can I just give another thank you to Miss Future Teach for all of the gifted subscriptions she has given people over time. It means the world and is helping to make these videos possible. And so, since they are the biggest impact here, it is at their generosity that I introduce you to the legendary Columbia Temporal Operative Escort. Also in my head, the TMP era NX class. There are 4 ships that are why I actually purchased the legendary bundle. Defiant was 1. Here's the 2nd. I love the NX. So, just a slight disclaimer, got more difficulty with biasness here. We'll attempt to control that. But they have done things to this NX that I really am glad compared to the original Tier 6 NX you could get from the low-buy store, which was a Raider, not an Escort if I recall right. So, with this being said, here we go. In 3 stages, we'll take a brief look at customization options, which I am going to nick at something, by the way. Then, we'll take a look at her stats, her consoles, and her traits, as well as something else here where they missed the mark. And finally, we'll take this beautiful ship into action. But with that being said, guys, and without further ado, I'm Captain Ri'shad. Shall we begin? Oh, incoming the brightness that happens every time. Well, the eagle-eyed people will have noticed the differences already. But, yes, I wasn't using the Type A hull armor. Now, the Columbia is Type A naturally. I'm just saying though, a bit more detail from the 8B looks better to me. But then again, nothing will ever beat the NX and that beautiful slick profile. I mean, very close second. Anyone see, if you watched the last video, if you watched the last one, which was the Jerfface, the Connie, I said that the reason I don't really like the profile of that one is it's excessively very long neck and that. What does this ship do different in its refit state? It shortens the neck and pylons a bit. It fixes the bit I don't like. This is why this is my favourite one to have in this format. There isn't a form of the NX I have not liked. The NX and the NX refit I think are beautiful ships. And I love the fact that you get, for those that want to replicate the NX-02 Columbia, seen in Star Trek Enterprise. That's how you do it. You've literally done it just at that point. You've done it. Oh no, the Columbian might have had the same hull armor, so you might want to do that one. Correction. There, I finally got there. I remember the differences. That's the actual Columbia seen in NX, so you can replicate it. Nice thing to quickly dart on. Now, you can also play about a little bit more if you want. Put the Defiant hull armor, Galaxy Intrepid, Sovereign refit, NX, and the NX refit that's got them from the Lobi store. Type 0 if you really want to give it a nice classic feel to it. Looks really great actually when you do that one. As well as all the other types. And with Type 8 and Type 8B in there, you just really get a refined look. My only nickel at customization options that they should have thought about, that is, this ship is supposed to be the legendary NX-01 Enterprise, right? That's the way the NX-01 Enterprise looks. Yes, people know about the refit. That was it in the show. That's the ship that became legendary. They should have given you the ability to essentially do this without having to use the NX module. Bit of an oversight, Cryptic. Bit of an oversight. Just saying it out there. Otherwise, great customized options. We don't have a unique bridge for it, unfortunately. That's a bit sad. And you don't have unique windows for it. But if you want the most fitting windows, it literally is Type 1. And you're practically on point for the NX class. Let's go take a look at her stats. Almost filling out a place here, what the hey. So, time for the stats. But before we get into that, I have to repeat myself for... I've lost count now. Well... Okay, I haven't. For the 6th time. I'm pretty sure this is the 6th one. This ship is part of a major bundle. The 10th anniversary Legendary Starship bundle. Either standard bundle or premium. Now the premium bundle is 45,000 Zen. It is not worth it, even with all the extras you get in it. It's just not worth it. I'm sorry, it's not. So that one, out the window. Goodbye, not even considering it. However, if much like me, you at least want 4 of the ships, then the standard bundle becomes a decent deal. Normally it's on a decent sale as well at the same time when it gets released out. So it won't be at its full 30,000 Zen price tag. However, 30,000 Zen means that each individual ship is worth 3,000 Zen. Each of the 10 ships that are worth 3,000 Zen are not Zen Store level. They're all about fleet level, if not slightly better. And as a result, that actually makes them superior to fellow Zen Store 3,000 Zen ships in sort of the price tagging. They're slightly better ships for the same cost. Now, yes, some of them, like the ship in question right now, the Zen Store equivalent this one has is 500 Zen, but it's also a tier 1 ship. Or you have the 900 Lobi variant, which was the refit. Either way, once you start to talk, you want nearly the majority of the ships, you guys actually start to get a decent deal out of it. With gaining access to all the traits and all the past consoles, there's a lot you can acquire for this ship and other ships. All that being said, it's up to you to make the decision. Will you like the legendary Columbia Temporal Operative Escort? Well, here's her stats. She is a tier 6 type escort. Great upgrade, thank you Cryptic, that was needed. With a base hull at level 65 of 54,000. Her hull modifier is 1.2. Her shield modifier is 1.0 7.5. Not the most enduring, but a decent escort nonetheless. Turn rate of 14 with an impulse modifier of 0.2 and an inertia rating of 60. She starts to get better with her bonus weapon power settings being plus 15 and her bonus auxiliary power settings of plus 5. She has 5 forward and 2 aft weapons with the ability to equip dual cannons. She also has a tight specific slot, the experimental weapon, and 3 device slots available to her. Her console layout is 5 tactical, 2 engineering, 4 science. Anyone knowing where this is going yet? And she gets stronger still. Thanks to her being a temporal ship, she has the molecular reconstruction abilities. These granting either a powerful kinetic damage output, powerful healing, or a incredibly good disable, depending on how you charge and activate the molecular cohesion beam. With that, we then get on to her bridge officers, which again are incredibly good. Now keep this in mind from this point going forward. This ship at no point will be considered or being talked about from here on as a tank, other than me to say this one simple spot. Her whole defense is impressive enough that she can take a huge amount of punishment, much like the NX actually did. And as a result, it is very safe and very prominent to say, in my personal opinion, that as much as she will not at any point from this point forward be looked at as a tank, there are potentials there to build a average to slightly above average regenerative hull tank. The next time I bring up tanking for her, it will be to put her down badly. So, okay, let's go away from it. Her bridge officers are a universal ensign, a engineering lieutenant, a science lieutenant commander with temporal operative specialization, also a tactical lieutenant commander, and a tactical commander with temporal operative specialization. Temporal operative is one of my favorite specializations alongside intelligence and miracle worker. Why? Because temporal operative are amazing when it comes to support builds. But this ship is a support and a DPS masterpiece. Thanks to those tactical scenes and that Lieutenant Commander science seat, along with the heavily biased tactical and science console layout, this ship is going to be a tactical and science DPS monster, while simultaneously being a science support masterpiece. Just Mona Lisa of a ship. I am very proud to say that she does both incredibly well. And to me, that's just one of the main reasons why I'm going to fly her. She is essentially the Defiant's more aggressive counterpart from the legendary ships. And that's weird to say, the fact that she's more aggressive than the Defiant. But I'll back that up if I have to. Her experimental weapon gives her the same weapon amount as the Defiant, if not better, thanks to her actually having 5 forward, 2 aft with that experimental weapon. But she is so fast, so agile. She's dangerous, very dangerous. Well, enough of that. How about we back this up now with her consoles and her traits, if we can. Okay, not so much. Let's go. Hey guys, sorry about that. Just had to pop in, pop back, or pop out, pop back in, sort of, yeah, okay. I frazzled myself. Let's go to look at this. First of all, talk about the weapons. Yeah. There's a few things to talk about with this ship. Things that are good, things that are bad when it comes to the consoles and traits and that, but the pulse phaser beams, now, funny enough, I forgot what they actually did. But they are a plus 10 to all damage resistance rating for 9 seconds for yourself. They also have a 2.5% chance of applying phaser damage transfer to your target, which reduces reduces by 10 all damage resistance to your target for 9 seconds. Essentially, these are the disruptors of the phaser world in some sense. Not entirely sure that's amazing. Bit of a shame that the standard issue ones you can't upgrade, so you will have to buy them from the exchange if you want to have a nice themed build of them. Personally, I do think pulse phasers are nice weapons, aesthetically looking, and they do have a relatively nice proc. But yeah, I'm not going to spend that on myself. I do kind of like them though. Big secondary miss though. Like it was a big miss for them to think, oh, let's make it so that they can remove the secondary hull from this ship, because the NX never had the secondary hull. So the Enterprise 01 never had the secondary hull. So why should this ship have it all times if you want to have it in its aesthetic design? Oversight, yes. Secondary oversight is the experimental weapon. Now, do you think they oversighted on that because they wanted to do the wide arc phaser cannon or the spatial torpedo at this point, which are both specifically orientated for on the NX, or the reinforced weapon assembly? That's actually a really good console. If you don't have it, get a hold of it. But yeah, not having an experimental weapon point in here, cryptic. You did not do the ship justice, especially since this is what you do to that thing. Good thing I had plenty of other weapons to put in its place. Some of that had some very nice upgrades. Now, this is going to sound stupid, I'm going to say this, but hear me out. The Grappler, the Universal Grappler. This is a gimmick console. It doesn't really have a major function in the game. I mean, a tier 1, if you've got the tier 1 NX to start the game out with, just like I did. It was my first ship, the USS Ptolemaios, hence the name of my cinematic series. But this Grappler is essentially Tractor Beam 1. It might be slightly better than Tractor Beam 1 actually, and it can disable cloak and actually grab ships out of cloak should you have enough sensory ability or perception. But yeah, it's a Tractor Beam in essence, just with a different look, and it is kind of cool actually. It's a nice gimmick look and does give you a nice visual aesthetic if you're trying to do a visual tie-in for an NX class, but that's about the limit for me. Now, the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead, however, oh, this is one I praise, and you know what, torpedo players, hear me out. Now, I would love to even hear what Oggy thinks about this, because to me, the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead is a go-to console for anything that is aiming towards improving projectile weapon builds, kinetic builds, as well as just a general useful and protective console for yourself. Why do I say this? The point defense system of this warhead is actually effectively similar to the one you get with the Thunderchild. It will target fighters, and it is super effective, dealing 20 times damage 2 fighters, I believe it is, the point defense weaponry seems to do. As well as being quite effective at taking out other incoming torpedoes, targetable torpedoes, or devices. It's even great at taking out mines. So if you've got an enemy that's using tractor mines and things like that, absolutely beautiful console to have equipped for that protection. It's got very smart targeting as well. It seems like Cryptic was very nice with this AI because it always seems to prioritize the right priority targets to keep you alive. Now alongside this, it does give you a passive effect of a plus 25% to projectile weapon damage, hence why I say it's a great go-to console for kinetic builds. It's also brilliant for its 1% critical chance boosting, which I know it's not like a large number, but every bit of critical chance seems to matter these days. And kind of why I'm starting to edge towards doing a crit D crit chance on my weapons instead of my normal modifiers of damage. Again though, on the same notes, we have the active ability of the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead, which launches a warhead that periodically kinetic AoE damage, well, when impacts, generates a kinetic AoE damage. And it creates a 1 point defense that flies towards the target's current location. Yes, it can miss. It does times 3, 1,729 kinetic damage every second to random enemies within a 5-kilometer radius. And when the target reaches, it will explode for a 2-kilometer radius, dealing 14,408 kinetic damage to targets within the radius. Not bad. Not a bad little thing. And I'm not gonna lie, that is quite a substantial amount of damage. It's a little bit slower firing than the point defense, I think it is. A little bit slower firing than the point defense console. Overall scores? Well, grappler. Okay, I really like it. About, and I really want to go 9 out of 10, because just for the thoughts of nostalgia with Star Trek Enterprise, which is one of my favorite series. But this console is the first console to get a 1 out of 10 from me. Not surprising when it's a tier 1 console. It has very little benefit. There is no way to improve it because even control abilities don't improve it for some reason. And it is essentially Tractor Beam 1. It's not even like it's like Tractor Beam 3. So, sorry Grappler. However, the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead, that one gets an 8 out of 10 for me. Just from the fact that almost all DPS builds could utilize this in some manner. And so could many other variant builds. It's quite useful. However, now to traits. And the traits lead us on to preferential targeting. Yes, unfortunately there is only one tier 6 ship, so only one trait gained at the level 5. Preferential targeting will give you beam, fire at will and cannon scatter volley. Empowers your beam overload and cannon rapid fire. When using beam, fire at will or cannon scatter volley, you get a plus 100% damage to your beam overload and your cannon rapid fire. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't see why you very often combined those two. Normally your build is focused on the continuing the up of your cannon scatter volley or your beam fire at will. Not very many people go cannon scatter volley to cannon rapid fire. And people that combine cannons and beams, I know that happens, so you may have a cannon scatter volley combined with a beam overload build. These hybrid builds don't often get very Sorry, Trey. Preferential targeting and low buy store ship. That's why I don't really overly recommend the NX from the low buy store as much as I love it. You get 6 out of 10 because it has use to gain damage and there is ways to utilize it, but you're going for very specific builds at this point, and the build will be so specialized you wouldn't be utilizing it in many areas. Now, field modified overload support. I wonder what that's in reference to. Anyone seen the Alarchy recently? Eh? What? Your hull heals that target your ship's recharge beam overload and emergency power to weapons. So, your hull heals that target your ship's recharge beam overload, that target your ship will recharge your beam overload and your emergency power to weapons to their minimum cooldown. Essentially, you'll be able to use beam overload and emergency power to weapons much more quickly every time you, well, by releasing a heal just prior to them. So if you activate them, then activate a heal, you'll get your, by the time your beam fight will has ended, you've got it to use again. There's just one problem with this trait. Again, overly specified. Way too limited. Would never use this trait. There are far better ways to achieve a global cooldown, as some would put it, or should I say to achieve the minimum cooldown for beam overload, emergency power to weapons, and while you're at it, every other bridge officer ability, without having to use this trait. It's called a bridge officer ability and certain duty officers. This trait, because it is attempting to do something that is completely null and void, literally by the time this ship came out, it was already null and void to attempt this kind of thing. Sorry, 2 out of 10. Worst trait I've ever looked at. There are actually right now in the game, there are at least 3, maybe 4 ways to achieve that far more efficiently. And that's not a good thing to be able to say about it. That really is not. I'm sorry, NX class, I know I'm being nasty to you right now, but as much as I'm biased to loving the NX class, I cannot be biased when I'm reviewing these traits and stats, and personally, that means I've got to be honest with you guys. I don't think these traits or these stats are... Sorry, these traits or these consoles are worth it. They're just not. The stats of this ship, absolutely brilliant. Much like the Intrepid class. But its traits and its consoles are all on the opposite end, minus 1 console. Yeah, so at least it's doing better than the Intrepid there. So let's give this ship a fighting chance. I'm done being mean to it and taking over into action. Helm, prepare to modify the ship's look, and let's go. Okay, so let's take 2 on this, because I forgot about what I did in testing and what I found in testing, and yeah. So I've used the build, actually the exact build I chose to use when I was testing the ship out on Tribble. Yeah, we've actually still got the grappler and the point defense thing equipped. This is for a reason. Just going to go into offensive mode now. We're not going to use the molecular cohesion beam because it's not going to be necessary. This ship is going to... well, it's going to mess some things up. So let's just... for the moment... I'm going to drop that, and you guys can see what this does. Go out of them! I want to see if they can take it out before it destroys them. Oh, we did get those ones. Incoming! I mean, they moved quite a bit. Yeah, it's a good hit. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, buddy, buddy. Oh, buddy, oh boy. I got him with the grappler. It's gonna matter very much because he's already out. I'm just toying here. I am literally just toying here. Oh, shall we use the beam? There we go. Oops, he's wiped out. Now, I'm going to very much overdo this next bit because I want to show exactly how powerful this is. Right, lock you down. Shield's now down to lock as well. So, power and auxiliary. Jem'Hadar, you are in so much trouble there. Do not sit too close. Let's keep going, keep going, keep going. Come on. And charge on through. I've actually done slightly worse here. Goodbye. Ooh, don't miss the explosion. And he's good. Oh, and yes, I went and brought out the NX class. I know some of you are probably hoping I'd fight with the Columbia, but I have this thing. I always fly the design I like, and I'm just in love with the NX class aesthetic. That is why it's also called the NCC 2150A USS Archer, in reference to Captain Archer, because he's also one of my favourite captains. Seriously. My top 3 captains are Archer, Picard and Cisco, and I cannot ever decide which one is my actual favourite. Lorca comes in after them. Seriously, this ship is absolutely brilliant. The change from Raider into Escort has just given it that level of toughness that it needed. It's an absolutely magnificent DPS vessel, and I will go ahead and say an absolutely brilliant support vessel. Honestly recommend flying this if you're a support player and you want something that's got a bit more aggression to it. This will make a great little support ship for you. And if you are a DPS player, then I couldn't recommend this ship to you more. It is right on par with some of the best DPS vessels you can have, in my personal opinion. I know there are some that really do just go through the roof in potential, but this ship is so there with them. I swear, give her a chance, believe in her. To be honest, in my final scores and breakdowns, there is a harshness I've got to give to her. Like I said, her traits are a bit meh, they can be given a miss. One of her consoles is a little bit underwhelming. But other than that, her second console, the T6 console, is a lovely, brilliant console that can be easily utilised by most builds. And fundamentally, that is the end of that sort of area of hers weaknesses. Yeah, she doesn't have a great experimental weapon. Who cares? There's some absolutely stunning experimental weapons out there that you can just equip to this ship. I personally haven't stopped liking the railgun. The railgun was the original experimental weapon and is to this day my favourite experimental weapon. Why? It's got the most modest look in the actual aesthetics of the weapon's use, and is still a very high impact, very high damage weapon, dealing kinetic damage, funny enough. It's something you can give a pass to. Now, as for the final scoring goes, tank, as I said, will come up here at the end. Tanks obviously is its weakness. It's a big weakness as well. Yes, she can hold tank in theory with that 1.2, but she with only a lieutenant engineering and possibly an ensign engineering from the universal slot and 2 engineering console slots, possibly 3 at max. Her tankiness is very, very low. She can tank, which is why she's excessively low in the score here, but her shield tanking is really her only strong suit, and that's nullified by her shield modifier. Overall, shield tank, I'm sorry, but for me to give a good score to shield tank, you need to have a shield modifier of at least 1.1, 1.2 area. But with the actual consoles, I'm not going to put her too low down as a shield tank. So she gets a 6 out of 10 as a shield tank. Hull is doing the reverse. The hull modifier is where it wants to be, but the engineering side of things isn't. So as a hull tank, she gets a... Actually, she's slightly worse because the bridge officer doesn't even back her up here. So she's getting a 4 out of 10. I nearly gave her 5 out of 10, but she's getting 4 out of 10 for hull tanking. Personal opinion, guys. Personal opinion. Now, as far as support goes, across the board, she has exactly what you need for the science side of support. But she has a weakness in support, and that is, again, engineering. Engineering does play a preference to, or play a necessity to a support build. However, she can counter this with, thankfully, the commander seating having the Temporal Operative specialization. And Temporal is a great support specialization. As a result, she does give herself a little bit of a kickback and comeback, and I will happily give her 7 out of 10 as a support vessel. Probably should be giving her slightly higher, but I'm trying to be fair. Now, DPS. Side DPS, I'm just going to get this out of the way right now, is a minefield of absolute danger for anyone fighting this ship. Personally speaking, her side DPS score for me, there's only one way to have gotten higher. She's getting 8 out of 10. And literally, if it was like a side commander seat, or I would say randomly giving her a secondary deflector would have made no sense, but yeah, having that, I mean, made no sense. NX refit has 2 deflectors. That literally for me would have excelled her, or even just improved her auxiliary bonus power setting. That would have excelled her up there for support. Sorry, for side DPS, but tactical DPS, there is nothing holding this ship back. She is right where she wants to be. Hell, she can even go to 6 on the tactical console slots. Experimental weapon, she's got a great weapon emplacement of 5-2 with experimental weapon. Great maneuverability. She's got all the things I say a DPS vessel requires. Temporal is great for DPS as well. As a result, I'm going to give her 9.5 out of 10 for DPS tactical speaking. with an overall DPS score of 9 out of 10. The only reason she has not hit tactical 10 out of 10 actually comes down to her specialization type. There is better than Temple when it comes to DPS. If she had been command or intel, I'd have given her 10 out of 10. What about you guys? What do you think of her? How do you rate her and how do you score her? I'm sorry, but this is something I just need to know. So I look forward to reading the comment section to see what you think of her. And can I say a huge thank you to everyone who has watched to the very end of this video and support the channel by doing so. If you want to help her out more without any cost to yourself, please consider hitting that like button and sharing the video out there on your preferred social medias, as it will really help this channel out within YouTube's algorithm. On that very same note as well, can I also say a massive thank you to my YouTube members, my past Patreons, my donation supporters, and my Twitch subscribers, who without their incredible generosity, this video wouldn't be here right now. Believe me, even a £1 donation makes a massive difference when it comes to creating these videos. Thank you, everyone. It means so much to have you here. It's time to disembark though, so for those planning on leaving when we get back to dock, please take care of yourself. And to those joining the crew, I ask this one thing: don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell. After all, you need to know when the next missions are up. With that being said though, to everyone, live long and prosper, and ciao for now. Engage.